Welcome to Talk Too Late, guys. This is Game Too Late. I'm joined by HeadacheMik, who is very calm and quiet.
Hi guys, my name is Mick and I wave like the Queen.
Yes.
For some reason.
And by Prosil, who is on drugs
Hey guys,
today.
this is Prosil. How you doing today?
Yes, there you go. Welcome to Talk Too Late, the show in which we talk about games and games industry news 2 years after they've occurred. So today in June 2020 and July 2020, we look at games from July 2018. Because yes, and what we're looking at the screen is the first 2 weeks of July 2018. These are the games that have been released during this period. Not a lot of releases. After this episode, we're gonna meet again 2 weeks from now to have a look at the second half of July. But for the first half, possibly because of E3 2018 that was occurring just a few days before this date, there weren't many releases that occupied the first half of July 2018. So we're gonna go over these games very briefly, and then we're gonna look at some interesting news from 2018 July, things that regard Cyberpunk, for instance. And we're gonna look at the Cyberpunk trailer from 2 years ago, compare it to the Cyberpunk trailers from now. We're gonna look at things left and right, and an interesting article like this one that is really shocking. But let's go over the games first, and then we're gonna also talk a bit about HeadacheMik's news and everything that he's doing and that is preparing for his audience. And we're also gonna check out what Prosil has been on about. Okay, but let's go over the schedule first. Let's get this out of the way. 3rd of July, Red Faction Guerrilla. I don't even know what this is. This is a third-person shooter from THQ that possibly got forgotten by everybody. Is this icon? But I don't know the game at all.
I know it. It's
you know it?
Yeah, it's basically, I've played one of this. I think I actually played Guerrilla 2, and I should have it on Steam. It's an awesome TPS. And the particularity of this is that everything breaks. Everything.
Oh, okay.
And it's quite cool.
Okay, cool.
That's it.
The game runs on an engine called GeoMod or something like that. And I was just reading that now. And apparently it is an engine that, I don't know, possibly is...
Published by Deep Silver.
Yeah, Deep Silver, and recently Koch Media, which owned Deep Silver, I think. Anyway, not really much about Rumbo, the typical another little racing game, a little indie project for Nintendo Switch, Hotel Transylvania, the tie-in for the movie, other little things, Warhammer Vermintide, which is a first-person action video game. Again,
not bad.
Not sure what this is about. Did you?
It's basically Left. No, I haven't played it, but I've seen a lot of it. It's basically Left 4 Dead.
Okay.
Mixed with the medieval fantasy Warhammer, in like there's a lot of weird themes, like kind of obscure and dark themes. It's interesting.
The game was released on the 11th of July, and this came out free for the members of Xbox Game Pass. Damn.
What is that?
You know, we talked about it in our previous episode. If you guys want to check it out.
Click here.
Click there. Yes.
There.
Beautiful segue by Mick. He's getting good at this. Going back to the schedule, possibly what is together with the other one that came out on the same day, one of the main titles of July 2018 came out on Nintendo Switch on the same day as another big title. One is from Nintendo, the other one is from Square Enix, but Nintendo's publisher. I'm talking about Captain Toad Treasure Tracker and Octopath Traveler. But let's talk about Captain Toad, because this is basically a Wii U game. This is yet another Wii U port to Nintendo Switch. And it's this little game. Interesting concept. You are Toad and you are on this little islands that you get to look at from different viewing angles. And the island in itself is a little puzzle stage, and you get to move your character around and solve the puzzle and the platforming, and that's what the game is about. But I believe that our valiant Prosil and hardcore gamer Prosil might have played this game.
Yes, correct. I played the
Alright.
game with a bit of delay. I played it. It's incredible. This is a sub game that came out from Super Mario 3D World. There were some special levels where you were actually using Toad, and with the same gameplay mechanic. And the game was so good that they created the game itself as a standalone.
Mm.
And I think it's a perfect game on portable console because it fits very well on Switch. It doesn't have any announcements from the Wii U version. The interesting part is that there are, quite nice bosses, and the level design is quite catchy. I think it's a game that you want to start
Yeah.
and finish. And it's a game that, as Nintendo does in style, it's for all audiences because it's a nice puzzle game, but it also has the Nintendo catch when it comes to the graphics and everything around that side of the gaming. I'm sad they did not release a second version of this, or a standalone DLC for Switch. I think Nintendo it's okay with ports, but I would expect them to open up more with retro compatibility and give up a bit more this porting. Like we saw a lot of port in the Donkey Kong Country, this game, but then the nice games that they should be porting, like Super Mario Sunshine, they don't port them. So I really would like to understand what's the Nintendo strategy here. And of course this cannot go on and on forever because of course this game many people didn't buy it because they didn't play it because they didn't buy the Wii U.
Yeah.
But I think that this should be the last port on. They should stop with this porting, otherwise Nintendo risks to be in a kind of whack-a-mole effect.
So yes, Nintendo is pretty much running out of games to port. They have taken all the Wii U library and they've brought it over to Switch. That has helped them with promoting the Nintendo Switch as a console that had games, which was the problem with Wii U. But now, it's a bit too much. They don't have anything else to do, and they should really rather focus on things like remakes of old games. I mean, who cares about Wii U titles?
I think Nintendo, it's in front of a choice, and this choice it may determine their success or their failure, as it was in the past. Because in the past we always saw Nintendo doing very well, and then suddenly a huge mistake. Clearly, a lot of porting that are done from standard games like Mortal Kombat 4, they are not comparable to the console version. They just can be portable on Switch. So that could be the only advantage. But then there are a lot of issues when it comes to latency, online playing, and a lot of things that can compete with real gaming. So Nintendo should either pump up more its own brands, a new Breath of the Wild, a new Mario released on Switch, but they cannot expect that Switch in a couple of years is gonna sunset, because people are not gonna like if retro compatibility is not there. And most likely, by the look of the cartridge, Nintendo will play this game of let's make portable, let's make Zelda on both consoles, and then you need to buy two versions, or you can move digital. And I think I cannot see this coming up in the future for Nintendo. I think that user will start complaining.
And yeah, the game is really just charming, and it is noticeable to say that the game came out also on 3DS. So this was one of those experimental titles that they tried to establish a new Nintendo course with. What I mean is that at some point Nintendo decided to establish a different philosophy in development, and to have basically a single team do 3DS, and they basically had, before they had split teams where they would have people like a portion of, like some teams working on mobile portable gaming for the Nintendo DS and 3DS, and then they had the home console. They decided to change the approach of having two separate software houses, departments, different software houses for different things, and to have them instead work with this concept of universal platform in mind. And the Nintendo Switch comes out from that change of philosophy. So this was one of the games that was also trialed in that new change of philosophy, and that's why what you're looking at now is the 3DS version that graphically is pretty faithful, so to speak, to the Nintendo Switch version and Wii U version, but obviously the resolution is much smaller, much lower for resolution, but still it remains a pretty interesting game to look at. That's okay.
Yep.
Wait a second.
That's a 3D sound.
That's the 3D sound of a 3D. Anyway, no, I'm gonna cut that off. Anyway, moving forward, do we guys have anything else to say about Captain Toad's Traveler? I don't.
It's a hat, right?
Yes. The other.
Play the game. Play the game. Don't underestimate the game because it looks like cartoonish. Play it.
Okay, cool. The other games we're looking at is from a video from 2 years ago. Is Octopath Traveler. Octopath Traveler. Kotaku said 2 years ago that it is nothing like Final Fantasy VI, and there is this nice article where Jason Schreier from Kotaku, former Kotaku now, goes over the game, goes over some parallelism with Final Fantasy VI specifically. The game is quite interesting. It's a title that tries to be a modern JRPG with a very old-fashioned look of JRPG. So you're looking at sprites that are in fact, proper JRPG style, but there are a lot of modern graphics effects such as lighting and particle effects, cloud, fire effects. So it's a blend of retro 2D graphic art and modern 2D/3D graphic design.
Reminds me of Suikoden.
It does very much that sort of vibe, but obviously in terms of palette is a lot more modern. As you can see, the sprite is old style, the sort of level design is very old style, but then you look at certain graphical effects like the water and you can tell that instead it's rendered like a modern game. You see, the water effect, that sort of material effect is very modern, but it's designed or styled in such a way that you would feel right at home if you were looking for an old-fashioned JRPG. Typical JRPG menus, and again the graphics is quite particular. There is the typical combat system in turns.
It looks very SNES, especially the animation.
Yeah, the sprites of the characters are all very basic and bare. And it is a proper Square Enix game. But there is
but it's a JRPG.
Yeah, it's a JRPG,
whatever.
so it doesn't interest you. I know, I get it. But anyway, that's one of the big games from this time of the year 2 years ago. You were saying, Prosil?
Okay. No, same thing. I wouldn't like to hide this old school. I wouldn't like that they use this old school graphic to hide some investment in real graphic engine. And if this is considered a big game or a big thing, we go back to the point where it's a big game, but it's not up to standard. So when you release a game like that is big, you cannot sell it at the price of a AAA.
No, it is no. This is a AAA game. This is absolutely considered like a proper title, but it is a new IP. So I don't think people cared much for it when it came out, but it was still received pretty well. In terms of score, it went well, and it was also nominated in a few fields and won, especially in Japan, as you can imagine, the Famitsu Awards. So I think Square Enix here was trying to fill a market, because realistically there are not many JRPG that have been released in modern times that are made with retro graphics. If you look at indie games, indies have been trying to use this style for years now. So I think that Square Enix at some point probably decided, hey, there's a lot of indies that are trying to market their games with retro graphics. Why don't we do the same? And they did so for this new IP, which is interesting. And Yeah, probably they will release a sequel. I wouldn't be surprised.
Will be 16th Traveler, 16
Maybe.
Pad Traveler.
16 Path Travelers. And after this amazing pun, we're gonna move forward and we're gonna leave our release of games and we're gonna go over the news. There was there were some news announcement from Team Ninja 2 years ago. They all of a sudden announced Dead or Alive 6. I'm not a big fan of Dead or Alive. I mean, I do like it because it's graphically stunning usually, and I also
Is that
like
the
it.
one with the giggles?
It's the one with the jiggles.
Jiggles.
Yes,
Sorry.
yes, it's the one with the fancy ladies, and it also has interesting combat mechanics. But I found it hard.
I believe you.
Yeah, no, I swear. Come on, look at me. Look at this face. Interesting mechanics. But if you were
You're faking it so much.
No, that's fine. You were, if you were curious about those jiggles, I mean, interesting combat mechanic, you can actually play the free-to-play version. Dead or Alive has made it a thing now for Dead or Alive 5 that did the same, to release a core fighter version. The core fighter version being this little thing here. It's for PS3, Xbox One, and PC. You get a little limited roster, you get limited things, but you can play for free and get familiar with some of the characters. And
so there's only a couple of characters?
There's basically 4 characters. And this
is a couple of pairs of characters?
Okay, we get it. Okay, you're making jokes about the boobs. But
actually, I played the game, but it's not so emphasized. It's not emphasizing the girl's chest as much as the previous one.
I think they're toning it down a little bit because people are starting to go like, hey, why don't you cut it off?
Nobody ever complained about it though.
Yeah,
that weird?
I think they complain about it. I think there's always these days there's always somebody getting offended.
But it wasn't never big on Kotaku or something.
Yeah, probably no. Probably there weren't many articles about it, and I'm sure that when people tried to complain, most Japanese developers would have understood that maybe they needed more boobs. Maybe they want more. They're complaining because they want more, but no.
Bigger boobs?
Yeah.
Honestly, the feeling I had about this game, because I played the game probably.
No.
I played on the arcade and played on PS. I don't remember, maybe on Dreamcast. The feeling I had that this was the same game I played 20 years ago. It's not. I didn't feel any better. Like, still same mechanic, nothing new. Whereas, when you play Street Fighter, when you play Mortal Kombat, when you play Tekken, you have the feeling something has changed. Like, Tekken, I played the 6th one, and I'm looking forward to play the 7th one. But it changed so much. I had the feeling that, wow, like, it's completely different game. But this one I didn't feel that. I felt the game was always the same, and I don't know, there are so many better games, like there is Soul Calibur. In the 3D games, this one doesn't stand a chance in the fighting game.
Yeah,
up to me. But then it's just my opinion. Like,
I think that what they tried to do was in fact to also change, to sort of scope their production, to scope it down, to have it to a much more manageable scope or in terms of production. They have made it a free-to-play version, and from what I understand, realistically at this point, they make most of the money by selling skins packs. They sell a lot of those. If you go on the PlayStation Store, you can find some packs on sales for like $60, $70, including the whole thing, and those things sell. So there you go.
I believe they sell literally skin this time.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, before you were buying a fighting game, maybe one of us was buying this one, the other one was buying Mortal Kombat, and we could exchange and we could play in the same flat. I was coming to your flat, playing the game, and blah, 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 yada. Now you need to buy the game. If you want to play online with a friend, he needs to buy the game, and you need to pay a subscription, either being Xbox Live or PlayStation Plus or whatever. These kind of games, either they become free to play for everybody, and so we can play a fighting game and then we can get into it so much that at one point we want to see the story and we want to play it, or they don't stand a chance because the market has been saturated with Street Fighter, which did sell even if the game wasn't good one, the 5th one. Then there is Mortal Kombat. That is every year they release a better game, and the latest one they release is really astonishing. And then there is Tekken. And a game like this is like simply, yeah, you can port it on Switch, or maybe you can port it on a console that is less powerful, but doesn't have realistic graphic, doesn't have any interesting game mechanics, doesn't have fatality, doesn't have blood, doesn't have boobs anymore. Why should I buy it?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But look
it
at
really
this.
looks like a Dreamcast
at least
game.
They lost me.
At least they have a COVID version. Everybody wearing masks. There you go.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
Stay safe, guys.
Look at the character here. Can you remember at least one character? You say, "Oh, this I can recognize this."
Yeah, the
this
guy from
one
Ninja Gaiden.
The Ninja Gaiden one is probably recognizable, and
I don't even know the name, but
the one with
the Raiden one
yeah.
in the middle,
Yeah.
Raiden, and then there is Milena, and then oh wow, come on, it's really doesn't stand a chance.
Maybe, but who knows? Maybe they will turn it around. But they do have their own audience and fidelized audience, so probably they decided they can exist as a smaller company, as a smaller product, and they keep making profit from their smaller audience. It remains a very Japanese games with a less global appeals than the competition. Moving forward, J.J. Abrams production company 2 years ago started the Division games. They made a partnership with Tencent, and then they started working on some stuff, something called Bat Robot. Bat Robot is the name of the company. They worked on
Bat Robot is a production company that does like TV shows and things like that. Like Buffy comes to mind.
They started this game department, and they started working on this game called Spyjinx or something like that. Spyjinx. And literally nobody played it. So much so that if you look at the official link, it's 404 now. And it's no, I'm not even kidding. And so maybe if you go to Spyjinx now, it's on the Epic Store, and I don't know if it's followed by people, but if you go on their Twitter or Instagram, you see that they have 4,000 followers. So it became a small product, you know. They have an Instagram account with one picture. So that's what happened 2 years after that. Far Cry Classic Edition came out on some consoles, but
the fifth one?
the Classic Edition.
Oh, Far Cry
Classic Edition came out, and this is a little article just to explain that what came out on PS4 and Xbox 360 is just a port of the PC version. There is a nice comparison tool where you can compare Xbox One X, Xbox 360 and PC version, and you can see that the Xbox 360 obviously has some anti-aliasing issues here with the glasses, whereas PC and Xbox One X are on par, pretty much the same game.
I believe what you're trying to say is PC Master Race.
Not even so, because I mean Xbox One X kind
Xbox
of
One copycats.
The thing is that PC, it can be that level if you have a certain hardware to support it. That's the thing. When did they do this comparison? It's always like depends on.
I have to say, it's not like they're really pushing. The gap between the two generations is really minimal. They literally have taken the PC version of the game. They went to the higher configuration and they made a new build for the Xbox and PS4. I think it's a kind of a sloppy operation. Let's make some more money. Let's just sell Far Cry again. And that's what they did. This is basically Far Cry 3.
Far Cry is one of those games and brand that has been also abused by Ubisoft. Like Assassin's, even more, because he has been abused.
And speaking of Assassin's Creed, there is this other article from 2 years ago. It's about Jed Raymond, one of the people and initial writers and conceptual artists of the Ubisoft Assassin's Creed series. And in this nice little interview, she actually speaks some reasons about certain aspects that they decided to adopt when they created the Assassin's Creed IP and the setup of the story. And the whole excuse of him traveling through time in different eras was to free the creative effort teams to from the constraints of having to always be set in a certain period. And so there is one line that recaps the article. Is they say the original game was designed as a sandbox for creative, so they wanted to create some sort of sandbox game, a formula that would then be able to be exploited by creative, and exploited they did. Moving forward, let's go to probably what is the most interesting part of the article from 2 years ago. We're looking at the announcements from exactly 2 years ago of Cyberpunk 2077, and what we're looking at now here is actually some images from the trailer. And the reason why this is interesting is that we're not looking at gameplay. I don't think there's gameplay here yet, but we're looking at some presentation of the characters, some scenes that are supposedly from in-game graphics, and this is 2 years ago. This was at a point where we thought the game was going to be released in like 9 months. The game was supposed to be released a year ago.
April?
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be released in April 1 year ago, in 2019. Then they pushed it to September. Then they pushed it to January, February, April again. And now they pushed it to November 2020. So this is the game already running, already shown in some details. Basically 2 years and a half before it's gonna be released by current schedule. So I wanted to ask you guys if you had seen this. Prosil, I can hear you typing very loud.
Yeah.
If you guys remember watching this trailer back in the days, did you guys think anything 2 years ago of this?
Yeah, I've seen this. Oh, sorry, go, Prosil.
No, maybe you've got more interesting things to say, so I'll make it quick. When I saw the trailer, I thought this is not gonna happen like this. Like immediately said, this is not gonna happen. It's gonna be another graphic, other level of details. So
it looked very ambitious, yeah. But we're gonna look at the latest. We're gonna look at the latest trailer now, just to compare it with the trailer that came out just this week. No, 2 weeks ago. So. Mick, you were saying?
I was saying that I've seen this because it isn't very spoilery. I try to avoid every trailer that I can, but this is more of a
concept
teaser trailer, and a concept, and I don't know. It's a weird, and I think I still stand by what I'm about to say now, because it's a weird project. What I don't want out of this is to become the next Watch Dogs, which, you can kind of see what they're trying to hype up there, but then, like, what if it just, if it just becomes like a game which you just shoot and press some buttons and some dumb things happen.
Yeah.
And, I'm very scared of that. But at the same, and, I don't specifically care about the graphics. I want to have the level of interaction that they're kind of promising. They were already promising, and they are even more now. And I'm very skeptical about it. But then I do remember that the same company did The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, which it's not perfect, but it's in concept and in what it does, it's a pretty mind-blowing experience for an adventure, a medieval fantasy video game.
I think that we can say The Witcher is a solid game. It's not perfect, but it's a solid game. But then, what scares me about this game? That definitely this is gonna be released day one. Huge patch, a huge fix.
Oh yeah, sure,
absolutely.
So I think like this may piss off people. Like nowadays, it's not easy to release games, and it has been postponed. It's one of those games. Last episode, I mentioned about how much hype they build, and then it doesn't match up to standards. We've seen it with Metal Gear, we've seen it with Death Stranding, and then years before a game is released, then a company release Half-Life, and they announced it a couple of months more earlier, and they released the game.
What we're looking at now is the new trailer from 2020, June 2020. Sorry, you were saying?
No, I just said that I'm a bit against this huge hype. It's fine to announce a game.
I think they messed up in terms of communication with Cyberpunk, because you release a game trailer in 2018. That's very Sony. That's a very Sony way to do. Like, oh yeah, we're making this game maybe one day. Yeah, see you in 5 years. And then they say like, yeah, we won the show. We had the best trailers of games that are not even a product. Yeah. So now they had this really ambitious thing of releasing in 2019 and wasn't possible. Releasing in early 2020 was already a big delay. And then what my question is, why do you announce a release date? Don't say release date. Just keep giving some information. You can even show some effing trailer, because why not at this point? I like his trousers. And like, just say it's coming soon, because the moment you say a release date, you commit. Or you know, people save money for you, people plan for you. And I think it's a bit, when you have to delay 1 time, 2 times, that's fine. But this has been now at least the 3rd or 4th time that the game has been delayed after announcing the release date. And this is poor as fuck, if you allow me. Because just don't say it.
I think though
you don't have to say.
Does create some hype, doesn't it?
You know
though?
why it's bad? Because they even released a special console. You know, they announced a bundle console, right? The Cyberpunk special edition.
Even a GPU
console.
They announced. Wait, it's out, I guess, or it's gonna be out. But I think this does create some more hype, doesn't it? Like the fact that we're talking about
like how cheap is that this month people are buying this special edition of a console for a game that's not even out. It may be out in November, when this console will be obsolete.
Honestly, when I saw this,
frankly, people will play this on PS5. It's coming out with a new gen, PS5 and Xbox.
I was so confused that I've been thinking, oh god, this is like, is the game released or not? Because I didn't understand. People unpacking these consoles and then the game wasn't released. So yeah, I think this is so bad, so cheap, and we go back to the point of pre-ordering and things. You know, give me
pre-ordering is just bullshit. It's just bullshit. Nobody should ever pre-order a video game. If you want to support the creators and you want to do it because of that, sure, but it's like, it doesn't make sense.
No, if you want to really support them, I think you could try. Yeah. You could try and buy, for example, a limited edition where they get get more profit. Like, you're still buying £50 of game and you pay 70, you buy a little gadget, but you're literally giving them more money and you are rewarded with some exclusivity, and you are rewarded with something that you can keep and it's nice, or buy DLCs. Buying DLCs is a good way to support a product.
Give the game to someone you like, or in your stream.
No, but you know, I think it's a complex topic, because I think that the gamers that care are usually the ones that get screwed. Because you want your pre-order, you want the last. I wanted the last pre-order, the collector's edition. I didn't buy it because no spoiler, no. I didn't play yet. I saw the Ellie status wasn't up to the standards of a 100 quid status. So the action figure, the face was no detail and blah 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 blah. And you pay £170, €200 for that collector. Same goes for Resident Evil. When you see that, if I'm paying the money, I expect that to be a very good piece of art. But what we see instead is gamers pre-ordering these, keeping it in the box, other people buying it and then reselling it to the collector that couldn't pre-order it at the time. So I think this is just hurting the industry rather than supporting it. It's not. It's not the way it should be. Because if they were putting more collector edition on the market to a more fair price, or to a higher price with much better details, probably this is where we should be going. Because if I pay that amount of money for a collector, I'm not gonna do it once a year. I'm gonna do it once every 2-3 years. Because with that money I can buy a console.
By the way, guys, graphic-wise, this new demo that we are seeing from June 2020, 2 years after the previous trailer, It's looking graphically very impressing, but I believe that this is the PC version, which is more resembling the PS5, Xbox Series X version rather than the current gen console version. And
Yeah.
so
I'm not even gonna say anything about it.
This is probably not even close to what the console version is going to be. I believe that this is the PC version running at full specs.
CD Projekt Red is a heavily PC developing company, so.
But I wanted to ask you, what did you guys think of the graphics so far, especially of the feel? I have to say that I wasn't hooked up with the project initially, but after watching the bits of gameplay bits in this trailer, I have to say that the atmosphere, the mood is interesting, and I have loved Deus Ex for his mood, so this one is also something that I wouldn't mind playing, but probably I will do so 2 years after release. What about you guys?
I think that I don't agree with the part you said about the console. That's easily could be a non-playable moment. That could be a console. What is really
what about this time
astonishing
though?
Is this part of the game. Yeah. The level of details, the fact that you don't see, building, loading in the background. This is probably, it seems like solid frame rate.
They really can handle game developing. CD Projekt Red is really good.
But you could see like The Witcher.
The Witcher has a lot of problems, though. I mean, it was good, but it came out and this still has from time to time bugs being introduced and things like that. But one thing we know about CD Projekt Red is that from project to project, they always push the bar a little higher, so they always improve themselves. So you can expect to a certain degree to be optimistic, even though they are not fooling me. I mean, The Witcher 3 was a mess on console. My experience has been that it's been really buggy. At least the version I bought, which was the 2 years after release, I bought the Game of the Year edition with all the DLC and everything. And when I launched it, it started downloading like an insane amount of patches. I think that once I played it, it was already version 1.12 or something like that. So yeah, so I don't know. I hope they take the time that they decided to take to actually polish it to the sort of level and extent that we deserve after so long.
Yeah, I agree.
Shall we move forward, guys, and finish off?
Sure.
Cool. Yeah. There is this nice little article that I decided to pick because, of course, we want to hate a little bit more about Capcom. And
it's that time of the day?
It's that time of the day. It's the corner of our little episode where we talk bad and poorly about Capcom. This article goes over again the phases of Resident Evil 2, comparing them to the actors, the length, their likeliness for the characters. Like this one, I don't know, I don't see her, but apparently this is true, and this is the actor that lent itself for Marvin. This is pretty accurate, I have to say.
Pretty amazing.
Pretty cool.
And I think Marvin had a pretty amazing characterization with the facial expression of the
acting was good. From what I saw, the acting was.
It's probably the best.
It was actually dramatic without being soap opera. You know, it was serious.
No,
serious shit.
The two guys were good, but they were kind of soap opera-ish. Yeah. Marvin was a pro on it, and I'm okay. I don't want to talk about Resident Evil 3, but good.
Also, Resident Evil 3 it does a good performance.
Next topic is the truth about video game addiction. We're going to talk about this to a larger extent in a future episode because we came across this article from 2 years ago, which actually ties to a TED talk from this person that in this article recounts all his history with video games and how he literally spent a lot of his time on video games, and he regrets doing so because at some point he realized he was no longer in control of that. Interesting topic. We're gonna go over this in the future, so stay tuned and keep following us on YouTube and Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Last or almost last is this nice article from 2 years ago where an artist has used the GTA 5 to depict American gun violence. It's really interesting. It took the scenario of GTA 5 and it pretty much put dead bodies on it. And it's difficult to explain, but let's see if I can show you a little bit of that. It's quite impressive when you see the sort of scenes, and it makes you think about how many victims are in the US because of gun violence. And what they did is that it took this little camera movement and they played some really interesting music in the background, and I suggest you guys look it up and check it out, because it's nice. It's a nice camera work with pretty effectful music in the back. Interesting stuff, and I'm sure that this won't be the last that we will see. This was, by the way, to kind of celebrate a certain amount of deaths or something like that. I'm not sure. You guys can investigate it yourself. I don't want to talk too much about gun violence this day. Nintendo speaks directly about E3 and a nice little article, but not something I'm going to dwell about, just putting it there. There is just 2 articles to finish with. One is about Farming Simulator. This article from Games Industry goes over the business side, because Farming Simulator has a real brand in the game. So everything you see in the game and everything you can buy in this kind of simulation games is actually real brand from the real world, and that has helped the game. And as it turns out in the article, the game is now helping the popularity of the brands as well. And you would expect that these brands would not be exactly be famous or anything, but this has been an interesting partnership between the video gaming world and the industrial world at such a particular scale. So the article is very long, and if you are a fan of the game or if you are a farmer, you may want to read that. Sure, go ahead.
It's what you're saying. It's quite amazing. There's a guy that works with me that it's pretty much a farm boy. Mm-hmm. Has a lot of lands and trees and crops, and he and all his friends that live in that area, they have a server that they play Farm Simulator almost every day.
Yeah.
And they really know the brands. They really know that life in real life, and they play it too.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree with what you said. It's pretty. The brands are there, and everything is pretty specular to it. It's quite awesome.
Now I feel like I want to try the game, because I have got the game on PlayStation 5 Plus, and I attacked it when they gave it for free.
There you go. So maybe it's time to give it some sort of choice, and maybe you will find that your money on PlayStation Plus was worth it to a much better extent. We're gonna wrap up this episode though looking at the charts from 2 years ago, just because I wanted you guys to see that Jurassic World Evolution was number 2 in the charts when that came out.
Wow.
I don't even know there was a game about Jurassic World or Park or whatever. It's a movie.
Star Wars Battlefront 2, which is what they released this month.
Star Wars Battlefront 2, which came out on PlayStation Plus this month. And yeah, the game came out and almost toppled Crash Bandicoot from the Crash Bandicoot remake.
Nice. Here you go, Crash.
From the top. Speaking of
God
which,
of War was still 6th.
God of War was still selling like nuts. About 3 or 4 months after release, yeah. Funny how we can see.
We should have done an episode talking about God of War. Anyway, you can see that you've got 2 Mario games in the chart, in the rank.
Yeah, funny. I mean, you would never think that Mario Tennis sold that much, but it did its time. Never. It did its time on the charts. Anyway, guys, how have you been? Let me talk a little bit more about you. Mick, what have you been up to, and will give us your details. Right. And Prosil, tell us about how you've been doing and what you've been up to, and give us your coordinates, and we're gonna wrap it up for this week.
Thank you. I'm doing fine. It's a brand new summer in Italy, and as you know, it's as hot as it can be. And my tiny, very lit room, it's getting hotter and hotter by the day. But we stream still every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday without stopping us.
Cool.
Without stopping the operation here. We've been playing a lot of Resident Evil lately. I'm still trying to finish all the achievements, but I am slowly introducing some new games to the stream. One of the Elder Scrolls that I've never played, and it aged pretty poorly. And with this Sunday, besides just playing video games, we also cooked. I bought this very old and probably expired instant noodle ramen. The one that you don't even need any sort of heat. The water gets boiling with a chemical that you put in it. It's really weird, and I think it was all gone and probably could have killed me, so I didn't try it. I tried to do it. It was a complete failure, but it was really fun to do. So,
all right.
At least we had fun.
Cool. And congratulations on all the new bots and little animations that you have on your channel. There are pretty cool ones.
I'm super proud.
On the channel, you can use some commands when you use your points, or the viewing points, and there are some pretty tasty ones. Especially, I won't spoil it, but I like the wow one. I like the one that mutes you, and I like the one that corrupts the stream. And I think everybody should try that out.
Thank you, man. Thank you. You can find me. Sorry?
It looks like very varied. Like, it looks very cool channel now.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, you found interesting ways to actually use the points, which I think is something that all streamers struggle with, because what do you do with these points anyway?
Yeah. Sometimes they're just there. It's super easy to hook up. It's easy to hook up, but it's very hard to perfect. So I'm still working on it. And I'm pretty proud. Thank you very much. You can find me on twitch.tv/HeadacheMik every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday. And if you spend, I think it's 1 million headache money, you can actually crush my stream.
It's interesting, yeah.
Yep. Whenever I'm live, you can crush my stream. You will see something weird happening in the stream, and then the stream will actually turn off. And I might just walk away if that happens.
Wow.
I will call that a day.
I might just have to try one day. But the blackout one, I tried it and it's really cool. Why don't you tell us about the blackout one? Unless you don't want to spoil the surprise.
Oh, if you played Metal Gear Solid 1, it's basically that.
It's a Psycho Mantis moment.
Psycho Mantis, yeah. It's
cool.
A very Psycho Mantis moment.
Jesus.
Cool. Prosil, how have you been and what have you been up to?
A bit more boring, more focusing just on gaming. The challenge for the 100 platinum is still going on. Rank up 95 now. Last games have been playing is Tomb Raider. The last Tomb Raider, which I did play, I did enjoy, but I didn't really like it. Then I played a very interesting game that is called Get Even. It's a story game about virtual reality, and I really recommend it. I think it's an underrated game. It's definitely a game that I would recommend playing, because it's very story driven. It's described like an FPS, but it's not an FPS at all. It's a game with multiple chases, and it's an investigative game. Much better than L.A. Noire, for instance. Apart from this, I also played The Witness recently.
I'm seeing.
Yeah, I really got into the game. I'll be honest with you, some of the puzzles, because I was really fed up with the game, wanted to finish the game, I had to look up the solution online because it was taking me so long. But yesterday I played the whole game trying to do the challenge, which is you can play maybe my highlight of yesterday where I completed it.
I don't want to spoil it, but okay.
I don't spoil it, it's just the beginning. You got a very interesting recorder at the beginning. Already finding this area of the game is super hidden. It's in the highlights.
Okay.
There is an highlight that is showing. And you basically see this, this is just the perfect run. And then you see basically that you activate that music, and then this will be playing the music, and there is like 3 songs, and you've got these puzzles. The puzzles are randomized, so they change every time. So there is no solution online, and the game is all like, the whole game is like this. You just have simple patterns where you draw snakes into it, and you need to find the solution. But then the more you move forward, the more complex this becomes. For instance, you need to find a way to separate the black dots from the whites, but nobody is explaining you that. Right? And then this room in this room, basically you've got 2 dots, and you need to figure it out that once you solve the next 6 puzzles, so after a while, there will be a closed path with invisible walls that will pop up just when you hit the breaking points, and the pattern that you need to solve are on the highlighted dots that you find there. And these change every time. So yesterday, and I think a bit of Saturday, also took me the whole day to do this, because then there is the music that plays in the background, and the more you go forward, the more the music has a crescendo, and basically really had some panic of will I make it? Or maybe you reach the end and you won't be able to complete it. And I think this is, if the whole game was just this, I would have scored the game like a huge very highly, because like you can see that it's very it opens up a lot of emotions.
It's nice to look at, in particular, indeed.
If you listen, I recommend you to look at this with the music, because then you can hear also at the end that you got a bit of music that ramps up very, very not dramatically, but it puts some pressure at the end, and it's definitely a good thing. So this is platinum number 95. I did platinum Resident Evil 2 the other day as well. I did all the trophies there. So now I've got one more.
5 trophies left to finish your challenge.
I think in the next 2 weeks I'm planning to take 2 more, so I think it's achievable. 100 trophies.
You can do it, yeah. You can do it.
I've got already.
You can absolutely do it.
Awesome.
I have to say that if you were looking at me playing yesterday, you could see the stress of taking taking a platinum is stressful. Even if the game is same, it may seem easy. It's a lot of stress. I did platinum Ratchet and Clank, which is a game for kids. If you want to platinum it, you need to bring it to another level.
Yeah, I guess that's true, and that's why I don't. Give us your coordinate, and we're gonna wrap it up.
You find me at twitch.tv/Prosil. You play too much. I don't have me on video. I don't talk a lot unless users want to interact. My gaming is about first experiencing blind runs in hard mode, like you wouldn't explain. So you see me dying a lot, making a lot of mistakes, but then you see me mastering the game, and next game I want to master is going to be The Last of Us 2, which should be coming today, tomorrow.
Okay. Good luck with the wait, and good luck with the game. As for me, I am Game Too Late, and you can find me on Facebook and everywhere on Google. But most importantly, you can find the Talk Too Late show on Apple Podcasts, or on any Apple device, on Spotify if you're using Android, and of course on Twitch and the rest of the media. This has been Talk Too Late. I thank my amazing 2 guests, Mick and Prosil.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
And I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Thank you, guys. See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. Bye-bye.